It actually started 20 years ago when we met, or more than 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago, when Sadio was living in Malmö in Sweden. We met, actually I went down to a cafe called The Basement, and he was actually sitting on the table playing this instrument, Indian instrument called sitar. I didn't know the name then. So I went in front of him and I asked him, what's your name? And he put down his guitar and we talked. We talked for 5 hours, I think, in a row about music, life, philosophy, spirituality. We had different groups also and played in concerts in Sweden. And then he moved here, and since then it's been a pause, and then 2.5 years ago we met again and starting to plan this group and what music to play, and everything is felt natural to be together again and start playing. It was fantastic actually to meet again.
So in one moment Anatoly has contacted me just to meet me. So I came to his house and we just started to play like we usually do. We'd been playing both guitars and I started to jam. He just recorded. So then we found that it's interesting, we can do something maybe. So I came back and I started to think myself making compositions, sent to him. I said, yes, we'll make it. So I went there, and to hire more musicians, I told him that we need drummer, bass and saxophone, that he has to fix it. And he has fixed that, and we had started to practice and feel that it's coming out something good. Then we had to discuss about the name. So the first composition I was doing, and for this arrangement, it was one Indian piece of raga, we called it raga Kirwani, and that I make the composition for them. So finally we call it Kirwani Orchestra. That's how it was born, Kirwani.
Maybe 4 or 5 years ago I met Anatoly Bulkin, and we started to play in a trio with also with Henrik Linder, and we started to play, and then I played double bass, and later on we actually recorded a record. And we did some gigs and everything. And then one day Anatoly told me, do you want to play with a sitar guy? And I said, yeah, why not? Let's do it. And then I met Sashed at Anatoly's place. And we rehearsed. And then we came here to Spain.
One year ago, we was playing the Elche Jazz Festival, and I had actually never met Sajed before, but me and Morten and Anatoly have had a trio, a jazz trio, or
a trio with Anatoly's own songs for 3 or 4 years before that. So he asked me if I wanted to join, and I said, yeah, that sounds really interesting. And the mix between Sajid's Indian music and the music that I have studied before or played before is new to me. I've always been fascinated by Indian music, but I have never really studied it, and I actually still haven't. But I want to play with Indian musicians in my way, the way I play as a Western musician, and see how we can communicate, and that's.
Jazz music is actually lots about freedom of expression and freedom of finding new ways, and the liberty to express yourself and your soul within music. And it's also about exploration and being brave at the same time.
This music of jazz is something actually to do with Western music, which is come from its origin is from everything from Africa. But when it's question of jazz, it's all started partly in Europe and partly in USA. And it has some speciality when it's question of improvisation side, also rhythmical patterns, which are interesting. And so in that way, and we have Indian classical music, which is also has a lot of improvisation. And so it had that kind of ideas in a way that we can communicate jazz.
For me, jazz music isn't a musical style. It's a way of looking at music. It's a way to treat music freely. You don't play it exactly the same 2 times or 100 times as many rock musicians or especially classical musicians have to play exactly the same every time. Or has to play, but they do tend to do. For me, jazz is not playing jing 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 jing. It can be any style, really any style. But it's the way you treat music. You put your personality into it. If you're sad, you play in that fashion. If you're glad, if you're playful, you play in that fashion. Just that time. So it's for me it's music where you're there in the moment all the time.
Totally different. The second, the problem here is when we rehearsed it in
You can whistle it, right?
Yeah.
Drummer. It's like his birthright.
Even if he's not whistling or not whistling, he should play it. If we were musicians,
you have to plank.
Can we do that, please? And the audience start whistling.
It gives me the power to express myself creatively. I mean, it's a free language of in music where you can play whatever you like, really. But then there are some rules you have to follow, of course. But I mean, no. But it's really free expression of yourself, and it gives me. I become very calm actually when I've played. So when there is some days I don't play jazz or whatever, I'm not that calm. So yeah.
My role is, or what I add to Kirwani Orchestra and the music in it, it's I think first and forehand my ability to write music and that I really love writing music also, and also to have to be able to explore and find new ways within composition. Like Sajid asked me via Skype that
Hallå, god morgon.
Hallå, god middag Sajid.
Just det, jag har glömt. med din ansikte.
Yeah.
And for me it's coming C sharp, D sharp, F.
I play berimbau, which is a Brazilian instrument, looked like an arrow and bow and arrow, and then I wrote a song. He wanted me to write a song that features this instrument. And then I did that. So one thing is that I love writing music with exploring new ways, and it's also that I'm actually coming from the rock world, where I played drums first and rock guitar later, and then became playing more and more jazz and improvisation, and then met different Indian musicians and played with them, also with improvisation, and it's I got some knowledge about the Indian tradition and how how to work with them and how to listen. But I'm not Indian, so but I have lots of experience of playing with Indian musicians anyway. So I think that's what I'm adding to the Kirwani Orchestra.
Maybe I add the calmness, the peace, the safety to the group, and all the other players are they are spacing out, but I stay on the ground and add some groove.
I like to add many things of my experience that I had been in actually many different parts of the world, and all the feelings that I have gained from people from land to land. So for me, the Kirwani is something of that, of my soul that live with earth, with people, and which is more important actually, love the people, you know. So Kirwani is mostly is love, to give as much as I can, and without any border. And another thing is, music is for me something also like crying. Do music is out of cry. You see? So it's everything is all the time crying. But this cry feeling is something to do with your inner soul, that vibrating and you express. And this crying is like a kind of, it's not anything that has to be said. It's more like love. So everything based on, very much based on love. I had a feeling to make new music, which we call it global village music. Something like, rock, blues, reggae, stuff, pop, or whatever. Now I want to say global village music. And the goal is, I want the music without any border, just goes to people's mind. And in any kind of situation that is make you move forward. So if my music can move you, you are happy with that, I'm glad. That's my goal. It's like something like which you don't get from any other things. You get many things, maybe just living for material, and like most people work hard, but this is something that is above everything. And this is my goal, that bring human being with my music to that energy, that level of the spirit.
Remember everything. I try to each other. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Take care. Bye bye.